Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Natalie. Good morning, everyone. Okay, that's better. I'm sure our online audience did a better job than you all did. I am so excited to be here and get this amazing party started. We're data nerds, so we think this is a big party happening today. I am Natalie Lewis, Chief Operating Officer of Great Jobs KC, and I am just so excited on behalf of our amazing board of directors, our CEO, and President Earl Martin Phelan and entire Great Jobs KC staff, just to say welcome, whether or not you're joining us online. Can everyone online thumbs up if you can hear me? Yay. Hey, y'all. We have an amazing group joining us online. I just want to say welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you here at this amazing stage in our journey. We are here today to be able to pause, do something, and celebrate something that we find very near and dear as an organization that is committed to ecosystem building to change lives within our region. And that is being totally transparent about learning, being a community that learns together. So this is about our impact study that we did for our Great Jobs KC program. Most of you all know us because of our KC Scholars Program, our amazing scholarship program that was really a part of Mr. Coffin's legacy, and that we have over the last 7 years given over 6,000 scholarships to young adults and students. That's the program most of you all know us for. 2 years ago, Earl Martin Phelan had a very bold vision. We knew that everyone did not want to go to college. We knew that the industries, based on a lot of work that our chamber and different organizations was doing, that we had an opportunity to offer tuition-free training tied to industry jobs in order to help people move from poverty into economic prosperity. So Great Jobs KC is that program, and that's the program we're here to look at today. It's been around for a little over 2 years, led by the amazing Jimmy Swift, our Chief Program Officer. And this today is really about Mathematica having done an independent third-party evaluation of the program to date and us sharing those results. So that's really why we're here. I do want to let you know what the day is going to look and feel like for our audience that's joining us online. We want you to be, okay, I don't know if this is a real word, participatory. So please find your chat button. If you're joining us online, drop questions in. We have an amazing team member monitoring those. So we will make sure your voice is in the room for that. The impact study is really, as I said, a reflection of our committee to learn, commitment to learn together as a community, share what's working, what's not working, so we can continue to build out our ecosystem to provide people with the resources that they need. I do want to recognize our incredible partners. We don't do this alone. We chose to do it by already seeing what existed. So we have over 89 partners, and some of them join us in the room, some of them are online. Our university partners, our training providers, our chambers, KC Rising, just all those organizations that present. We just thank you for being a part of that journey. So what it's gonna look and feel like, we're gonna take the first 20 minutes or so really to set the stage so that for those of you that don't know the detail and the breadth of the program, we're gonna have our Chief Program Officers share you with those details. That's Jimmy Swift. Look, Jimmy, I said your name twice now. Before Jimmy comes up, our amazing CEO Earl Martin Phelan will come up and kind of share his bold vision and kind of how we started. But before even that, we have Dr. D'Angela Burns-Wallace present. Good morning. President and CEO of this amazing foundation, where we said all of our work will not have happened if it wasn't for the legacy and vision of Mr. Ewing Marion Kaufman and the generous support. So I want to give you a little background on Dr. Burns-Wallace and then bring her up for a welcome and opening remarks. And then we'll get the party started. I will say that we are going to have a question and answer session at the end of Ira's presentation. So as you are thinking about it, jot down your questions, drop them in the chat, and we will have that question and answer session available for you to get some questions answered. So Dr. D'Angela Burns-Wallace, and I'm going to read this because you just can't make this stuff up. This level of impact. Is President and Executive Officer, Chief Executive Officer for Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. This amazing foundation has over $2.5 billion in assets to change our community. The Kauffman Foundation is one of the largest private foundations in the US and focuses its work on providing equitable economic mobility for all. And they are committed to all. Prior to joining the foundation, Dr. Burns-Wallace served as the Secretary of Administration and the Chief Information Technology Officer for the state of Kansas under Governor Laura Kelly, nothing like getting governor appointed. She was the first African-American to hold either of those cabinet seats in the state's history. For more than 25 years, Dr. Burns-Wallace's leadership has opened greater access to opportunities, shaped policies that expanded resources and better positioned communities to thrive. Of her numerous titles, honors, and awards, she says the most important title is a title of mom to her son, Xavier. Please welcome, without further ado, Dr. D'Angela Burns-Wallace.
I'm not Earl. We dress to. Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone? Good. It is very, very exciting to be with you all this morning and to welcome you to the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation and Conference Center. One of the things that I like to share and kind of remind people is that the work of this foundation is embedded in this community in so many different ways, and even the spaces that we sit in are part of that. We're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the opening of this building and the conference center. And when the building was built, the conference center was built as an actual tool for the community. 501c3 organizations have always been able to utilize and reserve these spaces for free. And to this day, it is one of the commitments that we have to the convenings, to the conversations, to the work that is for those who are in the community doing the work. So it's very fitting to open the day today here in the conference center on the legacy of this work, which builds on the foundation that this particular foundation started. Project Choice being the very first college access program that the foundation kicked off under Mr. Kauffman, which evolved into Kauffman Scholars, which was some of the early learnings that were used to build Casey Scholars, and now to the evolution of Great Jobs. That is the power of the work. That is the power of the partnership, the convening, and the learning. So a day like today is so very important because the work is one component, but the learning, particularly through Mr. K's eyes, the learning is the most important, because when we understand the conditions for which we are trying to solution for, we can do more, we can invest more, we understand more, we can scale, we can share, and we can be a model, not just here in Kansas City, but for the world. Our work over the last year has been to refresh our strategy, and many of you may be following along as we clearly push to put a little more definition around some of the work as we thought about moving forward, understanding and aligning to community efforts and needs and voices, which included foregrounding Kansas City in our work, focusing in redoubling down into accessibility, college access and completion, entrepreneurship, which was at the heart and core of who and what Mr. K was, but also in the refresh, you will see that workforce and career exploration is also key and front and center. For us, this is not a step away or astray from Mr. K's intent, but it is, as Mr. K challenged us to do, to ensure that we were meeting the needs of the moment, and how and what that looked like when he was alive and started the foundation, and how we meet those needs today have to evolve. And in that evolution, being able to understand how career exploration and workforce development are integrated and at the core of both education and entrepreneurship if we are truly going to create communities where equitable economic mobility is real and the power of the economic future for those individuals is in the hands of the individuals, in their hands to get the jobs, in their hands to have the training to control their future. So for us, conversations like today with partners like Great Jobs is so important for the learning, for the convening, but also to ensure that our work is still aligned and having the necessary impact that we believe the work is to have. So we are excited to join you all today, to be a part of the conversation, to hear some of the early learnings and what the organization will continue to build on. I encourage you, as Natalie has already said, that throughout this day, it's about asking questions. It's about understanding the work. It's about how do we continue to take it to the next level. And so many members of my team are joining you today as well. I will be in and out, as you can imagine. I'm actually traveling this evening. One of the things that we have done for a number of years, November is entrepreneurship everything month. Everything. And I am actually hopping on a plane later today to go out to Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year, which is one of the largest international celebrations of entrepreneurs and innovators. And we have sponsored and hosted with them. And so I will be spending the day tomorrow with both women and entrepreneurs of color in networking groups that they pull from across the nation, encouraging and understanding and learning, like we are today, about the work, their success, and the barriers that we can continue to be a part of. So want to say, please enjoy the day, engage, ask the question, push, challenge, learn. We get better, we do better, and most importantly, when we get this right, we transform the communities for which we are in and for which we serve. Thank you so much, and I think I get to turn it over to Earl.
Well, good morning. How about those Chiefs? Anyways, I'm just trying to fit in. Everybody who knows me, I'm from Boston, so Patriots won as well. So it was a good weekend all around. Great to be here for this critical milestone today. You know, as has been shared by Dr. D'Angela and Natalie, just a real blessing to 2 years ago start this program. And it really came from this board of directors here and over there, who said, one pathway to a great job is a college degree, and we want to honor that. The program, in fact, over the last 3 years, the scholarship program has tripled in size. And last March or last June, we awarded 1,021 scholarships as a result of all the community support and each and every one of you here in this room. So that program has grown. But Mr. Kaufman also believes, oh, nice. But Mr. Kaufman also believed that the best social program in the United States is a good paying job with benefits. And there are multiple pathways to get there. And we wanted to honor the fact that some people are going to choose a college degree and some people are going to want to get right to work. And so that's where the Great Jobs program emerged. It was a short-term training program that would allow folks to get to work. And so we began to study a little bit of the ecosystem and kind of see what was here. And there was a few things that we found. One is Brookings Institute did a study that said there are 670,000 adults in this region that are struggling to make ends meet. They're either poor or they're at 200% of poverty, which means if you get a flat tire, you're choosing between, do I pay rent, do I put food on the table, or do I get that flat tire fixed? So there's 670,000 people right here in our neighborhood, right here in our backyard, that are struggling to make ends meet. And we set out with the bold vision that we thought we could really make a deep impact on those individuals. And so our vision is to help 50,000 adults over the next 10 years move from economic insecurity or from a place of poverty to a place of economic security, or as Dr. DeAngela said, prosperity. And so thankful first and foremost to the Kauffman Foundation. They have been beside us each and every step of the way. They, in fact, birthed us, as Dr. DeAngela said. Project Choice became Kauffman Scholars, became KC Scholars, which is now KC Scholars, and great job. So cannot thank the Kauffman Foundation enough for all of your incredible support of our scholars in the community. We want to thank Mathematica. Mathematica is a nationally renowned research and evaluation firm, and Ira is here today. We both flew in from Boston together on a 6:30 flight yesterday. But they do incredible work studying what works. And one of our core values is continuous improvement. And so most nonprofits would not do an independent evaluation of their work after only 2 years. Most organizations wouldn't do that. But because the demand for this program has been so great, because the scope of the impact has been so great, we really wanted to make sure we were doing right by our community. And so we launched on this venture and look forward to hearing Ira's findings, and they better all be positive, Ira, in a second. And finally, just wanted to thank each and every one of you. There are a lot of Great Jobs KC Scholars team members, in addition to our governing board, in the room, and you guys drive each and every day. You know, a lot of nonprofits struggle with scale. They lose their focus on excellence. They lose their North Star. And our North Star is helping young adults and adults secure jobs that give them the dignity of work, that allow them to take care of themselves and their loved ones. And each and every day, you guys work tirelessly to do that for our community. And so I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for your incredible dedication to our scholars and to our community. And as Dr. DeAngela said, ultimately, the beauty of being from Boston is I see the world as not just Kansas City. And so I see this program and I look around the country and I see other programs, and what we're doing here in Kansas City is unique. It is special, and it is not being done in other parts of the country in this way, at this scale, with this level of excellence. And so I really thank you for the drive that you have for our community. And we're going to have a model that we're going to be able to show the world that you can help individuals who may have lost hope, who may not believe that they can find a job that will allow them to take care of themselves, but that may not have gotten the right education at the right time. We're going to have a model right here that will show the world that it's possible to do this in cities throughout the United States. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your dedication to that, not only Kansas City, but to make this world a better place. And I have the pleasure of introducing our Chief Program Officer, Jimmy Swift. I've been in this nonprofit sector for years. And to be honest with you, Jimmy is one of the best both leaders and managers with whom I've ever worked. He is just a phenomenal leader, and he has allowed us, through all of you, to bring this program to life. So welcome, please, Jimmy Swift.
Wow, that's a very large picture of me. I don't like it. Good morning, everybody. I'll say it again, even though you heard it 8 times. My name is Jimmy Swift. No relation to Taylor. If I was, I wouldn't be here, honestly. No, I would be here. I love the work that I get to do, and I have the honor of serving as the Chief Program Officer. And in my role, I oversee our 2 core programs. The one, KC Scholars, what we call our legacy program, where we award scholarships every year to students that are looking for a traditional college 4-year degree, or to adults that are seeking a 4-year degree. And then I also oversee our workforce development program, Great Jobs KC. And so just to make it clear to everybody, the presentation you're going to see from Mathematica today is specifically for Great Jobs KC. We thought that we'd show you the model for those of us that are joining us that may not know how our Great Jobs KC model works. And so we have a 5-tier approach. Our first approach is intake. So we have an amazing marketing team. We have an amazing community engagement team that go out into the field every single day and meet our students, educate them about our programs, and get them signed up for Great Jobs KC. So they all come through our website. Once someone applies, they get a call within 24 to 48 hours, and we start that process of qualifying for them for the program, making sure they reside in the counties that we serve, and making sure that they're looking for training in one of the industries that we train for. And if you see in the middle of this model, we have healthcare, manufacturing, construction, logistics, warehousing, service careers, and IT. Once we identify that they're a right fit for the program, they're introduced to their amazing scholar advocate. And I say amazing scholar advocates because they are the meat and potatoes of this program. They are the ones that meet the students from the beginning. They become their coach, they become their mentor, they become their cheerleader, and they truly are the ones that are getting our students through the program. I always say that 50% is getting students to free education, getting them to the door. The other 50% is actually helping them get through that journey. A lot of the students that come to us have a lot of stuff going on at home. A lot of them have people at home telling them not to go to school. A lot of them are working 3 or 4 jobs. And so they need us as their support system to get them to the end goal, which is a great job. The second piece is our professional skills workshops. And these are delivered by us. They're delivered in person. We have 15 locations across our 6 counties. And every single one of our scholars has to go through these programs before they go on to their occupational skills training. And we came up with these workshops. We developed these workshops looking at employer surveys, looking at information from KC Rising and KC Chamber on outside of the technical skills. What are the things that you look for in employees? And so we came up with these 3 areas: life skills. So we talk about money management, time management, and stress management. Then we go into career skills and we start talking to them about their resume, building their brand, the importance of networking. And then we finish off with actual workplace skills. So dealing with teamwork and managing change. Once they complete these professional skills workshops, then they go on to their occupational skills training. So we do not provide the training ourselves. We partner with our amazing training providers. We have community colleges that we work with. I'll show you a list, as well as other schools in our area, vocational schools, trade schools, to complete that training. And training can be anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 months and everything in between. Once they're going through their occupational skills training, that's really where the retention efforts to make sure our students stay in school begin. And we have a great community resource team that provides crucial wraparound services to our students that need it. Transportation, we have referrals for childcare. We connect them to so many different resources that would stop them from coming to school. And we'll show you our list of our community resource partners. And then we introduce them to their career resource manager. And the career resource manager starts career development with our students from the very beginning of their program. We do workshops in LinkedIn. We talk about getting their resume polished, their cover letters, all the things that they're going to need to get that job at the end. And all while this is going on, our amazing employer engagement team is out there meeting with employers that will hire our graduates at the end. And then once our students or scholars are placed in a job, we have 1 year of coaching and mentoring. A lot of our scholars that come to us, this is the first time that they're actually in a career. And so we check in with them periodically to make sure the job is going well, offer any other kind of mentoring. And at the end of the day, sometimes if it's not the right fit, we'll assist them with looking for something that is the right fit. And so this is our model. And we would not be able to do this work without the amazing partners that we have throughout the community. Our training partners are here. We have 46 training partners, 115 unique programs. Our community partners in Kansas and Missouri, these are the ones that really provide those amazing services. We talk about the Guadalupe Center, Catholic Charities does a lot of work for our students. I'm going to talk about them, a success story at the end. But these are really, really amazing partners that if we did not have these partners, our students would not be getting through the program. And then we have our amazing employer partners. These are partners that have signed agreements to hire our students. We're always adding to this list and looking for new partners to hire our grads. And so when you look at the impact on the community, 88 partners, and these are just people that we have signed agreements with. We work with other community partners that we may not have a formal signature with, but they take referrals from our students when we refer them to them. So just an unbelievable impact that we're making on the community. So that is a little bit about Great Jobs KC, gives you some context for the presentation that you're going to see now. For me, this was an amazing experience working with Mathematica, not only to see the impact that we're having, but also the tremendous opportunities that lie before us. And I'm really excited about that. So without any further ado, with over 15 years of experience directing large studies of education and workforce development programs in the United States and internationally, Ira brings a wealth of experience in quantitative and qualitative. I was worried about those two words today, I have to be honest. Quantitative and qualitative research methods and what it takes to make a job training program world-class. Please welcome Ira Nichols-Bearer.
Thanks so much, Jimmy. This is a real pleasure to be here today with you. And I just want to start by underlining one of the things Earl said in his opening remarks. This is unusual for a program that's this new to bring in a third-party evaluator to assess how the program is doing relative to its goals and aspirations. There's a certain amount of risk involved with being evaluated by an outside organization. And I honor that commitment to transparency and learning that both the Kauffman Foundation and Great Jobs KC has made today. Personally, this is the earliest stage when I have been asked to come take a look at a program in my career. And I think there's something really special about that opportunity now to learn together at in some ways, the launch of this program that's only been operating for 2 years. So let me open by just saying a few words about Mathematica as an organization. We've over 1,800 staff. This is a large company, but it's an employee-owned company. And what we get from employee ownership is a shared commitment to a mission, which is improving public well-being. So we endeavor to bring the highest standards of objectivity and rigor and produce evidence about important research questions that clients, so social programs, foundations, government agencies have about what's working and what's not. But we do it out of a shared commitment to improve public well-being. And so just to share some examples of the work we do. So Mathematica is currently leading a nationwide comprehensive evaluation of federally supported adult education programs. I'm actually going to mention one of the reports that came out of that study later in my presentation today. We also are doing work for the Department of Labor on how to define and measure what makes a job great in terms of high quality employment with long-lasting benefits. And we do a wide range of other programs in family support, education, K-12, higher education as well. So we do our work collaboratively. All of our work is as part of a team. So these are the other researchers I collaborated with on this study I'll be talking about today. And one of the things that was really special about this evaluation is that we collaborated extremely closely with staff from Great Jobs KC and the Kauffman Foundation. So this was a short study. We worked together for about 3 months on this work, but we worked intensively. So we met together weekly with leadership from both Kauffman and Great Jobs KC, and we first worked to establish the learning goals for the study, and then worked extremely closely day to day to gather the data we needed and made sure that the researchers on the study understood it and could interpret it well. So in terms of those learning objectives, there were really 4 learning goals we had in the study, and this is what I'll be talking about today. The first was to understand the Great Jobs KC model and how it compares to other workforce development programs, both in Kansas City and in peer cities in the region. We wanted to understand who's coming into the program as scholars. What does that profile look like of who chooses this pathway to finding a great job? And then we wanted to describe what's happening over the program's first 2 years. First, to track its growth, how many scholars are coming in and moving through the program and graduating, and assess early outcomes. So specifically, are scholars persisting through the program once they begin? And then for the scholars who've had enough time to finish and complete training, are they finding employment and are they earning the type of high incomes that the program set as a goal for itself. So how did we do this? So we started by reviewing all of the documents we could gather in a short period of time with a lot of support from the Great Jobs KC staff. So we learned about the logic model for the program, understood its ecosystem of partnerships, who the program's working with to deliver the program, and the various stages of those professional skills workshops and the wide range of occupational skills programs as well. Next, we did a landscape scan. So we looked, this was I would describe it as a quick scan of publicly available information of other programs in Kansas City and in peer cities. And I'll be talking about that in a moment in more detail. And then really the core of the study, the centerpiece, was an analysis of the database Great Jobs KC is maintaining on its scholars. So to date, there's been a little over 7,000 scholars who have entered the program. But a really important thing to keep in mind as I talk through these results is that a large majority of these 7,000 scholars are still training, that the program's still so new that most of these scholars haven't had enough time yet to finish. So as I talk about different outcomes, I'll actually be the sample, the group of scholars I'm talking about is going to change a little bit depending on which aspect of the program I'm discussing. So a little over 6,000 scholars have been enrolled long enough to complete those professional skills workshops Jimmy described. Those take about 4 weeks. A little over 3,000 have been enrolled long enough to complete the program if they did everything on time. So they enrolled immediately, did the professional skills workshops, and then moved directly full-time into an occupational skills course and finished it on their first attempt. So that's a little over 3,000 scholars have had enough time to do all of those steps. And then there's been an initial cohort of 840 scholars who have fully completed training and had at least 6 months on the job market. So when I'm talking about employment outcomes and earnings outcomes, that's only going to be, we only know what's happened for this initial cohort of 840 scholars who've completed. And then we also did qualitative interviews and focus groups as part of this evaluation. And this work is really important. The numbers are central to the evaluation. They tell us what happens typically on average, but grounding those numbers in lived experience, really need to talk to people to do that. So we talked with staff at Great Jobs KC, employer partners, community partners, and also scholars themselves. And importantly, and I think this is another example of that commitment to learning that Great Jobs KC has, that we talked to both scholars who successfully completed the program and scholars who were not able to successfully complete the program and had withdrawn without finishing their training to learn about the barriers to completing the program and some potential opportunities for growth in the future. So with that, let's turn to our first learning goal. How does Great Jobs KC compare to other training programs? So just as a reminder, we did this by looking at public information on other programs. So what's posted on the program's websites. And as you can see in the headline, Great Jobs KC is different than certainly the other programs we looked at. So, but let's start with some areas of commonality. So of the 17 programs in Kansas City that we examined as part of the study, about half of them offer career readiness and job coaching training. That's obviously one part of the Great Jobs KC model as well. And then the other half offers some degree of wraparound support services or social services. But only 2 of them offer specific training that's tightly integrated to a named employer. So what I mean by that is that the selection of training programs that they offer is aligned directly with an employer partner who's looking to hire someone with that credential. So that was unusual. It was only 2 out of the 17, but we did find a few examples of it. But what sets Great Jobs KC apart is a number of aspects of the model set it apart. But to start with is just the sheer number of career pathways and partner training programs this program is working with, Great Jobs KC is working with. So over about 150 programs in total, and also a wider range of career pathways than the other Kansas City area programs we looked at as part of this landscape scan. The next point of differentiation was just the level of staffing and commitment to developing these partnerships. So Great Jobs KC has a dedicated employer engagement team, a dedicated education partner engagement team, and this role of a scholar advocate, so a one-on-one relationship for scholars. All of these things sets it apart. There's a much more robust approach to deepening and strengthening this level of support for scholars and also partnerships as part of the program's model. So another thing that I think is really unusual and sets Great Jobs KC apart, in some ways it's connected to that decision that the program made to bring in a third-party evaluator so early in the life of the initiative, is it has established a clear goal in terms of the salary aspirations it has for scholars. So there's a target salary level of $45,000 a year that the program's measuring itself against. And I think that's unusual. There's a certain amount of risk in doing that as well, to say, okay, we're not getting there until we are getting scholars reliably into a job above a measurable threshold for earnings and income. And then finally, and in some ways, this is the most important differentiator in my opinion, compared to those other 17 programs we looked at, is that Great Jobs KC is combining many things at once. It's not just providing training or social supports, it's doing both at the same time and tailoring those supports to individual needs of scholars. We didn't find any other examples in the landscape scan of programs doing both of those things in combination. So we also looked at peer cities. So we looked at 5 programs each in Columbus, Indianapolis, and St. Louis, and we found a similar pattern there. So all 15 of these programs offered some form of in-house career readiness or job training. And we did find a few examples, one in each city, of a workforce development program that had a specific partnership with an employer and had picked credentialing programs that were in demand by a named employer as part of the program. But really, Great Jobs KC stands apart in offering that combination of both wraparound services and a tight specific connection to employers at the same time. And another, I think, really important difference between Great Jobs KC and these other programs we looked at in the landscape scan is scale. So we didn't find this information posted publicly for all the programs, only 5 of the 15 posted it. But where we found the information, these programs serve about 500 or fewer students per year. We only found one that served more, and that was about 600 students per year. Great Jobs KC is, over the last 12 months, has served 5,000 scholars, so an order of magnitude larger than these other programs we saw in the landscape scan. So just to go a little deeper on this idea of partnerships, which was so central to what sets Great Jobs KC apart. One is just the sheer number of partners, 24 different community resource partners involved with the program and supporting scholars. We had the opportunity to interview one of them, and we learned from our conversation with Catholic Charities that these supports really vary, and they're tailored to individuals and the barriers they're facing at any given point in time. They can range from smaller items like transportation vouchers, just to help with getting to class or getting to a job interview or help with school supplies, to some really major large-scale supports for individuals that need that level of support. This could be car repairs or dealing with housing instability and eviction prevention as well. And as Jimmy described, there's a large number of training partners, workshop sites, employer partners as well. And we had the opportunity to talk with 2 of these employer partners. And what we heard from them was just how deeply they valued having a dedicated engagement team. So employers who partner with Great Jobs KC know who to call if they have a question or a concern, something they want to change. There's somebody they have a direct one-on-one relationship with to work through those issues. And employers really value this. They value the frequency of communication and the opportunity to be flexible and adjust as they learn more about what their needs are and what scholars' needs are as they get hired over time. So with that, let's turn to our next learning objective, which is who is coming to Great Jobs KC and participating in the program. So in this table, it's just describing that on average, what the enrollees look like in this program. So scholars are most often female, 61% female, and the average age is 32 years old. So I would describe that as mid-career rather than start of career, 70% African American. And if you look at the bottom 3 rows of this table, I think it's really important to keep this in mind as we go through the rest of these findings. This is a very low income population of scholars coming into the program. So the average income is a little bit less than $14,000 a year of scholars coming in. So below the poverty line for an individual, far below the poverty line for a household with more than one person in it. And about half of the scholars have some kind of employment when they enter the program. But even among those who are employed, the average income is $25,000. It's still a very low income group, even among those who were employed when they started. And we talked to staff about sort of the typical life stage profile of a scholar when they come in. And we learned that maybe the typical candidate to have in the back of your mind when you're thinking about the program is a mother looking to establish a career and find more financial security for her family. But if you look across all of the data the program's collected on its scholars, in some ways, there really isn't any one typical enrollee. So just to kind of drive that point home, I'm showing you a chart here of just the account of the scholars who entered the program by age. So that bottom row is showing all the different ages of scholars as they enter, and then that vertical axis is showing the count, the number of scholars in that age group. And you can see there's a lot of scholars who are in their late teens and early 20s, so maybe coming directly after high school, after deciding not to go to college. But it's a very long tail of adults of a wide range of ages as well. So it's really, maybe about a third or a little more than scholars who are over the age of 40. Some are even entering over the age of 60. So it's a wide-ranging group with diverse backgrounds, prior skills, and life experiences as well. And they're choosing different industries. So this table is showing which industry each scholar matched to when they selected a training program to pursue. So the most common industry is healthcare, with about 42% of scholars entering a healthcare training program, about a quarter choosing logistics and warehousing, and about a quarter choosing information technology. But a wide range of other possibilities as well that are selected less often. But I want to direct your attention to that far right column of the table as well. Like even within these industries, there's a very large number of different training programs and options that are part of Great Jobs KC and that the scholars are choosing. 48 different certificate programs to choose from in healthcare, 56 different programs in information technology. And they vary quite a bit. They're all short. They're all less than 1 year in length, but they vary in duration. So some take maybe 1 or 2 months to complete. Some take upwards of 6 months as well. So there's a lot of variety here in the types of training the scholars are pursuing. Now, how has the program grown? It has grown a lot. So that starts with the intake stage that Jimmy was describing. And so to date, over 2 years, the program has processed over 50,000 applications to enter the program. And that scale to me is really remarkable. And a lot of that growth has happened just in the last 12 months. That's what this line chart shows. It's really skyrocketed in terms of just operationally, how many people are hearing about this program and showing some interest in it and being considered to enter the program. And that growth has scaled along together with the enrollment as well. So over 7,000 have enrolled to date and the program's near, over the final 12 months we examined in our study, the program was enrolling about 1,500 scholars per quarter, or 6,000 scholars a year. And to date, over 2,000 have completed their training. And so I want you to keep that in mind, that 2,000 have finished so far, but there's a really large group who are getting trained right now and moving through that program. That count of completers is going to grow rapidly over the next year. So with growth does come some challenges. We heard about this from the Great Jobs KC staff we spoke with. In some ways, this is a price of success when you're attracting so many people and trying to support such rapid growth in an early phase of a program. So one thing we heard about a lot is that there's now vastly increased caseloads for these scholar advocates who are working one-on-one with scholars as they move through the training process. Some scholar advocates are supporting up to 300 scholars at a time. And so that means there's less time to provide individual contact and support when your caseload gets that large. And so one particular sort of point where we heard from the scholar advocates that it's valuable to engage is helping scholars to choose between this really wide range of training programs and industries and find the one that's the best match for them and both their prior experience, their skills, and their level of commitment of how much time they want to invest in training. And that there's a desire for more, to be able to offer more in terms of having more one-on-one attention. And that's going to require both more time and resources dedicated to staffing up the program to accommodate all of the growth it's had in the last year. And also with growth, there's been changes in terms of the diversity of needs and backgrounds of scholars entering the program. So we heard that in recent months, there's been an increasing enrollment of bilingual scholars who need translation support and need additional supports as English language learners to get prepared to enter the workforce. And maybe a desire to add to or expand or offer more options in that initial professional skills workshop period in terms of foundational skills that scholars need to complete training and be ready to get a job that might not be offered directly through the training program they choose. Some examples there would be literacy skills or also sort of foundational computer skills and digital skills. So with that, let's turn to really the centerpiece of this study, which is what are the outcomes of the scholars moving through the program? So we're going to look at 3 different stages of progress through the program. And we're looking at these 3 stages separately because when we look at earlier stages, we can measure it for more of the scholars. Because again, all that growth that's happened in the last year means there's a lot of scholars who haven't had enough time to finish yet. So the first stage we're going to look at is qualifying for an occupational skills training course. And by that, I mean scholars who've had enough time, so they've been enrolled for at least 1 month in the data we looked at for the study, so we can measure whether they finished those professional skills workshops and matched to an occupational skills program. The second stage is persisting in training. So there we're going to look at a little over 3,000 scholars who've had enough time to move sort of full-time through the program. If a scholar immediately went from finishing the professional skills workshops to full-time training and finished on time, we can observe whether they completed their skills training program. That's sort of one outcome. Second outcome is maybe they needed to go part-time or didn't finish on their first attempt, but they're still trying. So that's persisting in training but haven't finished yet. That's a second outcome in stage 2. Or a third possibility is that they've withdrawn for the program. We're not able to persist for this length of time. And finally, we're going to look at just among the 840 scholars who've had 6 months on the job market after finishing training, were they able to find employment? So let's look at the results. So we see a strong pattern of progress through the initial stage of the program, qualifying and persisting in training, and some room for growth in terms of attaining employment after the program. So in terms of qualifying, 80% of scholars, 79%, have finished those, who've been enrolled for at least a month, finished those professional skills workshops and matched to an occupational skills program. So to me, what that says is if you think back to some of those application versus enrollment numbers, you can see that this is a selective program. Not everyone who applies is getting in. It's actually a minority of the applicants are accepted. And I think the program's doing a good job of finding scholars who are committed and at minimum persist through that first month, professional skills workshops, and start a training program. The second stage, persisting in training, likewise, I would characterize this as a very strong persistence rate. So this is in small text at the bottom, so I'll read it for you. But just to benchmark this 83% number, in the United States, in public associate's degree programs, it's only 34% of students graduate from a 2-year community college program within 3 years. It's actually very difficult to pursue post-secondary education when you're coming from a background where you also need income. There's a lot of barriers to completing that type of higher education with this population. And this program's succeeding in keeping scholars engaged through that initial duration of a training program. But with that said, it's only a little over half, 56%, who complete the training on time, meaning they directly after professional skills enrolled full-time in training and finished on basically as early as you could expect them to finish. There's 27% who either enrolled part-time or didn't complete the training course on their first attempt, but are still working with the program to try again and get through training. They just need more time to get there. And 17% of the scholars who start a training program withdraw, but without finishing it in this period of time. Then in terms of attaining employment, it's about 6 in 10 of the scholars who finish training find a job within that, as long as they've had at least 6 months. And that's how we define the sample. About 6 in 10 found a job in this period after training, and about 4 in 10 are still looking for a job and are still engaging with Great Jobs KC with getting support to find that job placement. So the next set of outcomes we looked at was earnings. And so the first way we measured this, and in some ways, this is the most relevant analysis we did in terms of assessing the potential impact of the program. We wanted to measure earnings growth. So the way we did this, so we're only looking at that first cohort of scholars who've had enough time to finish training and they've had 6 months on the job market. We wanted to look at earnings for all of them. So regardless of whether they found a job or not, they're in the sample I'm about to discuss here. So their average earnings, so this initial cohort of graduates, was a little over $14,000 before they started. So this was a very low income population of scholars entering the program. And what we wanted to do was measure their real income, so after adjusting for inflation, average income levels after finishing. And what we learned was that scholars have nearly doubled their real incomes, even though 4 in 10 are still looking for a job. They're not earning any income yet. They may find a job placement in the future. But even with all of those folks in the sample with no income at all, we're still seeing a large increase, about an 80% increase in earnings, comparing pre-program earnings to earnings after finishing and having a window to find a job. So that increase of a little over $11,000 in annual salary, that is a large increase in earnings. And I can say that because of a major national study that Mathematica conducted for the Federal Department of Education that looked at all of the workforce development programs in the United States that had a rigorous, high-quality impact evaluation of their effects. And so most of those, so there were 22 programs that have had a high-quality impact evaluation done of their work. And of those 22, it was unusual to have any effect at all. Most of them had no measured effect on earnings. And of the ones that did have an effect, the very strongest impacts of the highest quality program in that study found impacts on earnings that ranged from $6,000 to $9,000 a year, depending on the site that program supported. So what we did with this analysis, this is not an impact study. We're just measuring growth from before the program to after the program. We don't know how many of these scholars might have found their way into training some other way if Great Jobs KC doesn't exist. So this is an early look at the potential effects of Great Jobs KC. But my interpretation of this is that Great Jobs KC has the potential to be amongst the highest performing or even the highest performing workforce development program that's been studied rigorously. And it's a really exciting opportunity to see the program built on this strong start. And let me underline again that these average earnings include those who are still looking for a job. So let's zero in on who found a job and see what their earnings look like as well. So let's start with an interview that we did with a scholar, just to underline what it means to find a job after completing this program. And I'm going to read this quote. She said, "This program has helped me to double my income. Now I have a career rather than a job, and I care about my appearance going to work. And I am excited to go to work. I feel like I'm doing good in the world." So amongst the scholars who have found employment, on average, they are earning more than $45,000 a year. So the exact average, a little over $47,000 a year. And about half of them are earning above that $45,000 a year target the program established for itself and about half of them are earning less than $45,000 a year. So that variation in earnings, it's really explained by industry. And that's what I'm illustrating here in this table. It's showing the, 4 of the most common industries selected by scholars and showing the average income separately for the scholars who found a job in each of those industries. I really want to direct your attention to that far right column. It's showing the percent of scholars earning more than $45,000 a year. You can see in logistics and warehousing, it's almost all of them. It's 95% of scholars are earning more than that $45,000 a year goal. But in healthcare, which you might remember is the most common industry selected by scholars thus far, it's only 15% who are earning more than $45,000 a year. So we've been talking with Great Jobs KC leadership about this. They are well aware of this pattern, and they've actually starting to open up opportunities for scholars to re-enroll in the program, take a higher level occupational skills training course in the healthcare industry, and earn a higher paying job after their second time through the training process, in part in response to what they're seeing in the data so far. So finally, to understand what's happening in terms of the program's potential. So what if every scholar who completed training found a job? What would the growth in earnings look like then? That's what I'm showing in this chart. So we're only looking at the scholars who've found employment thus far. And as you can see, the potential gains here in earnings are really dramatic. So the first pair of columns here in this chart is showing for all of the scholars who found a job, their incomes are about 2.5 times larger compared to when they entered the program. That's a dramatic, really remarkable change in their earnings potential and economic well-being. But even the scholars who had a job when they entered, so that first pair of bars included all scholars, some who had a job before they started, some who didn't, so their average incomes were lower. But the scholars who did have a job when they entered, they're seeing very large benefits as well. Their earnings are rising by over 50% when you compare their pre-program job to the job they have now after finishing training. So really exciting potential to drive impacts even larger than what have been seen so far by increasing that job placement rate over time and helping those 4 in 10 scholars who haven't found a job yet get one of these higher quality jobs in the future. So we wanted to learn from interviews, where are the opportunities for growth in the program? We really see two major themes from the analysis we did. One is that some scholars haven't been able to finish training yet, but are still working towards it. And there are some scholars who are withdrawing from the program. So we wanted to understand, okay, why might this be happening? What determines who's able to progress through the program successfully? And we heard about just how much the variation there is in the needs that individuals have and the barriers they have to completing training. So some, as I discussed before, there's expressed a need for more foundational skills related to literacy or digital skills or language barriers. And also there needs to be just an awareness of how varied their prior experiences are. Some of these scholars have been in the workforce, may have had some type of post-secondary training before, and some haven't, and really need more help and coaching to move through a training process successfully. Also, training program length. So that on-time completion rate I was talking about earlier, it's a lot higher in the shorter training programs, and it's lower in the training programs that take longer. So the training programs that take 2 months or less, they were seeing an on-time completion rate of about 70%. The training programs that are the longest, that take 6 months or longer, have an on-time completion rate of about 30%. So that's an area for the program to look at over time. Maybe the supports and coaching needed for longer training programs need to look a little different than the training and supports for shorter programs. We also heard about, throughout our interviews, the importance of those scholar advocates is really the pillar that scholars are relying on to get them through training. We also heard about an increased need for coordination with employers for training programs where there's an employer role as part of the training process. So this is common in healthcare, where you have to meet a certain number of clinical work hours as part of the training program before you can graduate and earn a certificate. And that's hard to coordinate with, for example, a major hospital system and it's scheduling to find hours that are feasible for a scholar that's getting trained, but also has a lot of constraints in their life, may also be working as they're training, and may be very hard to deal with those scheduling issues. So there's an opportunity to maybe deepen the coordination in the training process itself when there's an employer role. Then we also wanted to look at opportunities for growth with attaining employment. So those 4 in 10 scholars who are still looking for a job, how can the program deepen supports for them? So we heard throughout our interviews with scholars that just, again, how important the scholar advocates are, that it's really the motor driving progress through training and also the job search process. And it's centrally important. Scholars also rely on those wraparound services to help with transportation, wardrobe, other expenses related with the job search process. And I think really interestingly and excitingly for the program, we also heard from employers that they're still struggling to find all the staff they need. And both of our employer interviews, we heard a desire from employers to learn, how can we find the people we need faster? We're still struggling to find everyone we need to operate. And they want to learn, employers want to learn from each other. How are they getting qualified candidates in faster? And they're excited for deeper partnerships with Great Jobs Casey in the future as well, to fill their very real staffing needs over time. So let's take a step back and look overall at the study and its findings. So Great Jobs Casey has an innovative model, and it looks different from other workforce development programs. It involves extensive engagement with employer partners and identifying a very broad and wide range of labor market needs and pairing scholars with education opportunities and training opportunities that are precisely matched to employer needs. And it's combined with tailored wraparound supports, very intensive supports for the scholars that need them, lighter touch supports for scholars that just need some help around the edges to make it through training and find a job. The program's had tremendous growth in 2 years, and I really can't underline this enough. There's 50,000 people who are interested in this program so far, just in their initial outreach. There's a deep demand for this type of initiative, and the program's really riding a dramatic wave of interest and enrollment in its first 2 years of operations. And the program is producing a large boost in the incomes of scholars. Some industries are delivering higher salaries than others. And the potential for those growth in incomes, there's a very strong potential for that growth in incomes to get even more dramatic and even larger if the program's able to boost completion rates and boost job placement rates for the scholars who are still looking for that first job. So I think with that, we can turn to questions. I definitely have some other thoughts to share about questions the program might want to examine in the future, other opportunities for research about how the program's scaling and supporting scholars, how it might be possible to estimate the effects of the program more directly, in addition to just describing growth in incomes the way we did in this initial study. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation today. Really welcome your feedback and questions.
So what we're going to do is we're going to pause while we have this amazing, brilliant man here to answer our questions relative to what you've heard about the impact study. We have some roving mics in the audience. So if you're in the room, and please be prepared to ask any questions of Ira. You will also have an opportunity to complete a survey. We want to know what additional questions, what didn't we ask? What are you curious about relative to the program? So we will give you an opportunity to provide that feedback to us via survey. But this is really a great opportunity to ask Ira whatever you want to know about what you just heard. Also, if you are online, please, please, please drop any questions you have. The amazing Terry Hart will be monitoring that chat, and we will be interjecting those questions from our online audience at the same time. And then Jimmy and I are going to be sitting over there in those 2 chairs in case there's something that if Ira can't answer it, I can't answer it, but we'll be over there offering support nonetheless. So anyone in the audience, just raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you with questions.
Hi, Katie Hamilton. I'm newly with the Kauffman Foundation. Congratulations. This is really exciting early information on the program. I'm wondering if there's a codified coaching methodology that's being utilized with the scholar advocates. If there's any kind of framework that, in training, kind of more on that part of the program.
That's a wonderful question that I will kick to Jimmy to answer. Yeah.
Sorry, so just to clarify your question, coaching and training for our scholar advocates? There is not. There is internal that we've created for all of our scholar advocates that go through that we've created ourselves, but not a specific model that we use. If you could recommend one, we'd love to hear about it. I love it. Awesome. Thank you.
I just, first of all, want to say how proud I am to hear this report. It is affirming and encouraging and a testimony really to everybody in this room, the foundation, the Great Jobs team, all of the partners who work together to get these kind of outcomes for the community. It's terrific. Ira, you said in passing that there were 50,000 applicants and then 7,000 that are either in or through the program. Tell us about the 42. What do we know about them? I mean, why aren't they admitted, or what? What's the characteristics of them? And this may be a question for Jimmy or Natalie.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I'm actually really interested in Jimmy and Natalie's thoughts about that as well. I will say that, one of the things when we were learning about the program's model and what the goals were and how this program was operating, this is something that we heard in interviews, is that when the program makes an investment in a scholar, they want it to be reciprocated in some way. They want to identify scholars who are committed to putting in the effort, putting in the time, working through those barriers they're facing in their life and completing the training process. This is an intensive program, and it's offering intensive supports. That it's not just, it's free tuition. It's not just free tuition. There's all these wraparound services as well. So I know the program's looking for, who's going to make that commitment from their side, but operationally, how is the program identifying who gets in? I'm curious for Jimmy's thoughts about how that works.
So David, your question was the ones that came to us that didn't enroll, or the ones that are currently in? Yeah, so there were a lot of different things when we first started the program where we had people that were applying to us. Couple of different things. One, they didn't qualify as far as our admissions requirements. And so our admissions requirements, they need to be part of the 6 counties. That eliminated a lot of people right off the bat. They needed to be 18 and over when we first started. That eliminated some people right off the bat. A lot of people, I think, when they say the word great jobs, they just think, oh, I'm going to go get a job. And then they find this training. They're like, womp, womp. Sorry, I don't want to do that. So we lost a lot of people through that. So it was just really our admissions process. And then, what our workshops do for us is, because they're not considered really enrolled until they go to their occupational skills training. That's when we're monitoring retention. And so our workshops give us the opportunity to find out, are they really ready? Because a lot of our students that come to us, it's the first time that they're going to school. And so they think they're ready, but they have a lot going on. And so we find out during those workshops, if they can't get to a workshop once a week, how are they going to get to training 3 days a week or 4 days a week? And so we've had a lot of frank conversations with students on workshops saying, you're not ready right now, but we'll be here. And when you're ready, come back. We've had people that are, 9 months pregnant going through the workshops, and we're like, wait till you deliver that baby. Come on back and we'll get you enrolled. So there's a lot of different factors, but those were the major factors.
Hi there, thank you. So I'm simple stupid when I look at data, and yes, I was a psych major, but I don't have this guy's background of analytics. But what I take from that is we have a lot of Black women in healthcare. If I just have to dumb it down for me. And then I look at the salaries and the compensation, and I think, what is that, CNA, the entry level. And so then I think, okay, there's a need or an opportunity to have a secondary advancement within that niche. And maybe you spoke to that, but it's a tiered program, so they have training to get into the entry level. And the statistic I heard was the most coveted job in America is nursing, and the average pay is 45K. I'd heard that a couple years ago, and it's probably outdated, but 38,000 was what I saw. So how do we get those folks from 38, specifically Black women is what it looked like, to 45? And are we doing anything to get that second tier education within that program? And then what are we doing with the healthcare system in talking about compensation? Because typically, if there's a need, supply and demand kicks in and the pay goes up. And so, I know in Missouri, it's 1375 as of January 1st, but, the wage is, what is it, 775, but obviously states do what they have to do for recruiting. And if there's such a need for healthcare, why is the entry level pay so low? And what can we do to leverage that to really make an impact and change the numbers on the average compensation for, I think it was 60% of the folks in the program are really targeting that healthcare, and they're women. So two questions
Yeah,
there
no,
for you,
it's good.
Jimmy.
Yeah, so
There's 5, sorry.
I counted 7.5, but I'll try and get each one. So as far as the salaries go in healthcare, it's a national issue as far as entry-level salaries. And so we have to remember the careers that we're preparing our scholars for are entry-level positions. And so we try and get our scholars into the ones that pay a little bit more. We have some specialty programs. We have phlebotomy, we have medical assistant, we have medical billing and coding. But a lot of the students that are coming to our front door just need a job. Their lights are being turned off. They can't make their rent. Some are living in their cars. And so an easy fix for people is our CNA program, where it's short term, right? They can't commit to a long-term program. It's short term. It gets them in the field. It gets them working in a hospital or a nursing home. And then what we have done is, as long as a scholar is engaged with us after they graduate, they're either looking for a job actively or they found a job, we will bring them back and have them go for a second credential, upgrading to a medical assistant position, where those tend to be on the higher end of the high 30s and low 40s. So we are doing that consistently. The other thing you mentioned great about having that conversation. So we are in the midst of putting together advisory boards for each of our programs, and we're starting with healthcare because it's our largest. And so we have 4 employer partners that have already agreed to be on the board. We have some training partners that have agreed to be on the board to start to have those conversations. One, are we offering the right programs, right? Are there other programs out there that we should be offering? Are the training providers that we're partnering with, are they the strongest training providers in the area? And so we'll also get information from them, and hopefully they can start having those conversations with a larger audience, because they are much on the lower end, for sure. Does that answer all of them, Michelle?
Yeah, but.
All right.
Yeah.
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 I feel like I'm Oprah.
Why is the low participation on these charts from the Hispanic community? Am I reading that correctly?
You are reading that correctly, and I honestly think that might be a data issue. And if Alex is here, Alex, you saw the lower numbers on the Latino. I think it's actually higher than that. In the midst of us doing this presentation, we were changing the way we asked that question on our application, because it wasn't worded the right way as far as Latino goes. And we made that change during this, and I think some of that data didn't make it all the way through, because it is higher than that. And so we'll update those numbers for you. Yes.
Hello, hi. I'm Alex Shaw. I'm one of the scholar advocates on the IT side with Great Jobs KC. I was just wondering what is going to be, especially from this study, our level of commitment when it comes to these pre-employment skills, specifically skills that they actually need in terms of also going into training. So we know that I think 50% of adults in the US read below, I think, a sixth grade level. So how do we ensure our scholars are coming in and they're not already behind the curve of some of our training programs that are really rigorous, which
Yeah.
I think we love. And I think we're like, yes, we want our scholars to go through the best of the best, but the best of the best requires a higher math level, a higher reading level, a higher commitment level. How can we support our scholars to do that and not go into training programs where it's hard to read and they're frustrated, but they're trying, but it's feeling like they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's a great question. And so as we, like we said, this is a very new program for us, right? And so we're learning a lot of lessons. And one of the lessons that we learned pretty early on for our IT programs was, when you see cybersecurity, that's a nice, sexy program that people like are, gravitating towards. But if you've never turned a computer on, you're not going to get through a cybersecurity program. And so we are now doing assessments for our IT students that come in, and we're not saying no to them, but we're getting them through this IT. And if it's a pass fail, if they fail, we're talking to them about other programs that we have that might be a better fit for them. But we also don't want to set them up for failure. We don't want to waste their time. They get to the end and they can't pass the examinations. We can look at the same thing for a lot of our other programs, really good assessment programs. Again, not to say no to people, but to make sure that we're doing more career exploration with them and putting them in the right program that they're going to be successful in. So, great question. We're on it.
Good afternoon or morning. I don't even know what day it is. Okay, so I have a question, and especially as it relates to the wage level. I know we get emails. I'm Dr. Chancellor. I'm with the University of Central Missouri, and the ability to kind of the start piece, right? The initial training, and then when they're ready to move on, are there partnerships in place? Or what does that look like for maybe when they want to come in as a C and then they get their medical and they do their 2 years and then move on to an actual nursing program with potential universities or other programs of that nature? And then my other question is related to, we get information, I work in our multicultural center. So I get information from different employers saying, hey, we've got these programs, we've got these training programs through my work and then also my volunteerism that are at those second levels. A surgical, we just got something the other day from a surgical piece, like they wanted to train someone in surgical procedures or something like that, an assistant. Are your entry-level programs, and then are we leveraging those partnerships where we're doing this part of it, and then their dollars, because it was paid surgical programs, are taking over on the other end from the hospitals and the different partners in that area related to healthcare?
Yeah. And that's the conversations that we're starting to have. And that's really the reason why we put together these advisory boards, is to have more of those conversations. Some of the things that we're also doing is apprenticeship opportunities as well, because obviously that gets people experience. That's what people are looking for, experience or degree. And so we want to get our students the most experience as possible. And just the other thing to our programs, we are capped on how much we could spend per scholar. And so a lot of those LPN programs, nursing programs, we just can't fund them through our program. But, we have our KC Scholars Program, which adults can apply for, a degree, a 4-year degree. And so we do get students on the Great Jobs KC side that we refer over, and vice versa. Sometimes we have students that they're in, their second year, they figure this, I don't want to do this anymore. They come over to us and we'll help them get a credential. So, but we do have a lot of healthcare students in our KC Scholars Program as well. But we're continuing to have those conversations to see what more we can do.
I could just add a couple of additional thoughts on this question about for those CNA scholars, so the scholars choosing the healthcare industry where the average salary is not meeting that $45,000 a year kind of North Star goal that the program set out to achieve. So we learned, I think, a couple of things that I think are interesting and relevant to this in our interviews with scholars. And I think one of the insights from interviews that's really resonates with the broader literature on employment and training programs and also just quality jobs in general is that there's sometimes in some contexts, the salary alone is not enough to understand if a job is a great job for that individual at that point in time. So there's a lot of more that can go into it contextually. It's stability of hours, predictability of hours, consistency in earnings week to week and month to month, opportunities for career advancement, employer stability. All of these factors are sometimes as important as the salary itself. And we heard that from interviews as well with scholars, that even if there's, for the scholars, sometimes, especially if you think about that average earnings of the people coming into this program at the outset, earning over $30,000 a year in a stable job with opportunities for advancement is a dramatic transformation as well. That's not a failure necessarily at all. And another, I think, important question for the future too is just the opportunity for community level or even household level effects of this training program. And we heard about this consistently in interviews as well, is that scholars are, moving through the program, completing training, getting a job, and then convincing, their husband to enroll in the program and move through it and get a job. In a situation like that, where there's, a household or a neighborhood where there's, network effects happening, I think there's a lot of opportunity for change in terms of economic well-being beyond just that one individual and that one individual's salary as well. And I think some really important sort of opportunities to broaden the sort of set of objectives the program's seeking, I think, because I think it has a lot of potential to resonate with that broader set of objectives than just the salary alone. Yeah, absolutely. So the question was, what are the next set of research questions that the program should be considering? So thank you for asking. I think there's a very exciting set of future questions the program can examine. So first of all, I really want to emphasize this strongly. This program has the potential in the context of a high quality, rigorous impact study to show impacts that are as large or larger as any other program that's been rigorously evaluated in the United States. That's a really exciting opportunity to demonstrate that this program should be a model for other cities. And I think it's an exciting one that is well worth pursuing in the future. I also think there's some really important, more immediate questions about outcomes as the program's scaling. So, as I was discussing today, we only see the employment and earnings outcomes of that initial cohort. There's like 7 times that number of scholars coming through training now. It's going to be important just to measure, what's happening for them. That's a majority of the scholars haven't finished their training yet. This is still launching in many ways as a program. So tracking implementation issues, tracking caseloads, measuring outcomes as the program continues to scale, I think is well worth it and really important as well in the near term. And as I mentioned, I think these broader set of outcomes than just salaries are well worth measuring. There's a lot of potential for spillover benefits for families, for neighborhoods, and for the region. And I think a future study could look at that directly, and it would be really interesting and exciting to do so. Yeah. See a question in the back? Oh, he's here. Oh, maybe we'll get to you next.
Sorry, I was just also wondering when you were talking about additional to the salaries about employee benefits and whether that's being tracked and those jobs that you were talking about that these employees have and which ones of those are providing benefits, or are they all doing that? Just wanting to confirm that.
Yeah, that's a great question. That should have been the first on my list of non-salary attributes of a job that make a job great. Benefits, health insurance, top of the list, but also retirement benefits, other insurance benefits that come with employment. And I think it does vary by industry. That was not part of this study, and it's not currently part of the that universal database of scholar employment outcomes that we analyzed for this study itself. I think it'd be really interesting, important, and I'm sure it varies by occupation. And it could add a lot of really useful context to the outcomes I was describing today, to add in that layer of, describing the value of benefits alongside the salaries themselves.
And we are starting to track that now. We're starting to track if our students have benefits and if they have some kind of retirement savings being offered. Okay, yeah.
Hi, Allison Bajatore with the Kauffman Foundation. Congratulations. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about the role of employer partnerships, especially as you think about scale. What are some of the biggest barriers or opportunities, both to growth of partnerships and depth of partnerships? Thanks.
Sure. So our employer engagement team, who are primarily responsible for building those partnerships, we have an employment partner model that we had rolled out. There was a couple of different aspects to it. One of the aspects was if they wanted to upskill their employees. So if they had people at one level, and they wanted to get them to the next level, we would partner with them 50-50. They'd pay 50%. We'd work with one of our training partners and upskill them. One of the other things, candidly and honestly, we had in place was a pay per hire. So the employer partners that we were working with, we would charge them a fee to hire the students that were coming out. As we look back, we found that inhibited us from getting more employer partners. And so we are doing away with that plan. And that's going to get us into more employer partners, more opportunities for our students. Because at the end of the day, it's our North Star. It's what we're here to do. And so we're looking forward now to engaging even more employers in that aspect. Our board also has been very helpful in introducing us to employers. And so we're going to capitalize on that more and have them introduce us to even more partners, but really excited about what's to come. Any other last questions so we can keep it moving? Really great questions. Anything online, Terry? No? Okay.
Thank you, everyone. These were great questions. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's stole my thunder, but yes. No, there's a lot of people that we're going to be wrapping up here. I'm going to share a couple of scholar stories with you. After these two scholar stories is a QR code that we hope that you will capture today. It's a survey that we talked about. We'd love to get your feedback about what you saw here today, how we can improve our programs. So please take the time to do that survey. On the middle of your tables, our amazing marketing team put together a lot of our scholar success stories. They come from our scholars at KC Scholars and Great Jobs KC, and just sort of show you the impact that we're having. But I wanted to share two with you because at the end of the day, this is why we exist, because of these scholars that need us and need our training. And so I don't typically like to read word for word on PowerPoint, but I am going to read this one because it's pretty impactful. This is Carla. Carla came to us. She was in recovery from several addictions that controlled her life, and it made it completely unmanageable. She was wasting all the gifts that God had given her. She thought she was worthless and lived in woods or slept beside a building downtown. She held a sign by the freeway and spent her days in distress and misery. 1 year ago, that was her story of life, a cycle that she didn't believe she was able to break. But now my life is forever changed, she says. I'm proud of who I am today. My family and friends see a change in me none of us thought possible. It's amazing what 1 year can do in a person's life, given the right resources, support, drive, and commitment. I want to say thank you with my whole heart for Great Jobs KC. So Carla walked into Catholic Health Charities and heard about Great Jobs KC. And through her scholar advocate that kept her motivated throughout the entire time that she was in the program, she had some struggles getting through. She graduated, she's working at Petco, doing her dream of grooming pets, and just an amazing individual. Carla just got promoted, folks. That's amazing. Amazing. We have to update that salary in the system. Make sure you do that. Terry, can you actually do that now? You have access? Thank you. Okay. And this is Joshua. Joshua started his CDL training program at Apex, who's one of our great training providers. Shortly after, he had to drop out and restart to several personal issues. And that goes back to the persistence, right? Trying to get students to the program. We have students that start Life happens, they need to pause. We stay with them and they come back. We supported him with transportation assistance and access to services that provide food while he was living in his car. After graduating from Apex, he has now secured a job making $87,000 a year. So imagine living in your car one day and the next day you have a job making $87,000 a year. And so sometimes I shudder to think that if we didn't exist, where would Carla be and where would Joshua be? And so I don't have to worry about thinking that because I know that we'll be there for them for the long haul. And so I want to thank a couple of people today for this. Obviously, Ira and his amazing team, they were wonderful to work with. And I would say that even if it was bad results, but since they were good, thank you. And to our board, to the Kaufman Foundation, and to every single employee that is sitting in this room or online, I'd like the people sitting here to stand up because you are the ones every day fighting for our students and help stand up. All employees. We have an amazing, amazing group of employees that are doing amazing things every day. So thank you. And to our fearless leader, Earl Martin Phelan. Thank you for your vision. Thank you. This is the QR code. Please fill out the survey. Thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.